So I'm going to call our meeting to order, and I understand that we have some members virtually. So as folks continue to join, Connor will promote folks. I'm going to begin with calling roll. Multnomah County Commissioner Jesse Beeson, welcome. Thank you. Washington County Commissioner Nafisa Fai.
Present.
Clackamas County Commissioner Paul Savis.
Present.
City of Portland Commissioner Mingus Maps.
Here.
Cities of Multnomah County Mayor Travis Stovall.
Present. Good morning.
Good morning. Cities of Washington County Mayor Jeff Delane.
Present.
Cities of Clackamas County Mayor Joe Buck.
Present.
ODOT Ryan Winsheimer. Present. TriMet General Manager Sam DeSue.
Present.
Port of Portland Curtis Robinhold.
Here.
DEQ Ali Mirzakalili. Present. Metro Councilor Christine Lewis.
Present.
Metro Councilor Ashton Simpson.
Good morning. Present.
Good morning. Washington Department of Transportation Carly Francis.
She's here.
Okay.
She had to go outside for a second.
Yes, she is here, but just getting her parking pass.
All right, thank you. City of Vancouver Mayor Ann McInerney Ogle.
Good morning. Present.
Good morning, Mayor. C-Tran Sean Donahue.
Present. Good morning.
All right, excellent. Good morning. We have a full house. It's really wonderful. Thank you, everyone, for making the effort to join us at Metro Regional Center for the big vote that we have on hand today.
Chair Gonzalez?
Yes.
Just one real quick, I'm going to start the recording. Apologies that I missed that earlier.
Recording in progress.
Okay.
We're recording. We just went through the roll and have a full house here.
Yes, thanks. And for folks that are joining us on the recording, we've just called roll. We do have a quorum, and we're going to move forward with our meeting. We're going to ask Connor to provide instruction on public communication and invite the public that has signed up to testify to do so.
Thank you, Chair Gonzalez. Testimony today will be limited to 3 minutes, and I'll manage the timer to go off at the 3-minute mark. If you've not already signed up to speak, you can do so now by virtually raising your hand, which, depending on your version of Zoom, is either at the bottom of your screen or within the Reactions tab. For those testifying on Zoom today, I'll call you up and promote you to a full panelist, so you'll see a window pop up asking you to accept that promotion. Once you do so, you will rejoin and be able to turn on your camera and unmute yourself. So with that, Chair Gonzalez, JPACT members, we have had some folks sign up in advance to testify today. So first up, we have Councilor Sherman. All right, Councilor Sherman, you should be able to unmute yourself now. Yes, and you'll have 3 minutes. Your time will begin when you begin speaking.
Audio okay?
Yes, sir.
We can hear you.
Very good. Good morning. Thank you for providing the opportunity to speak to you. My name is Brett Sherman. I'm a Happy Valley City Councilor and the Clackamas City's alternate for JPACT. I also sit on the Metro Policy Advisory Committee, Clackamas County's Coordinating Committee, and Region 1 Area Commission on Transportation. I want to start by thanking the various agencies, committees, and jurisdictions who have spent an incredible amount of time and energy crafting this plan. The RTP, it's a Herculean effort, and you should all be commended for your work. At this point, we're in alignment with 99% of the structure. So I'm with you today to share some thoughts about 2 amendments you'll be discussing related to the RTP. Both were approved by MPAC and passed through to TPAC for consideration. The first relates to the amendment of separating the RMPP into 2 phases, retaining the engineering phase in the constrained project list and moving the construction-related phases to the strategic project list. The goal here is to ensure RTP pricing policies and regional tolling concerns are adequately addressed before the construction phases move back into the constrained project list. As currently written, there is much uncertainty and ambiguity surrounding the later phases, so this proposed structure would provide better transparency and less confusion about what this project will include. I understand there's concern about the potential for a time delay related to amending the RTP in the future to include the later phases, but given that this project will literally change the face of transportation and funding for Oregon in perpetuity, it's imperative we get this right and don't just proceed with the hope that the end result will be successful. Second, TPAC's recommendation to JPACT clarifies the region's desire for a toll revenue sharing agreement, which aligns well with the 2022 letter of agreement signed by ODOT Director Strickler and Metro President Peterson, in which ODOT commits to ensuring a strong local voice in decisions around the allocation of tolling revenue. The TPAC recommendation, however, strikes language from MPAC that clarifies our expectation that ODOT present the revenue sharing agreement to OTC for consideration before January 1st, 2026, the date where tolling could start in Oregon. I am unsure why this expectation would be struck from the document, as it just provides a date certain for the agreement to be considered. We certainly recognize that the amendments provided by MPAC may not be ideal for ODOT, but we have an obligation to represent our constituents, and there is a significant desire to enshrine these requirements and enhance the level of trust from all parties, and thus MPAC felt compelled to include the highlighted amendments to provide that layer of accountability. Given that this is the final chance to get this right, and there is no further opportunity to wordsmith, I urge you to move both of these forward as originally proposed by MPAC. If nothing else, these steps help to ensure that ODOT continues a high degree of public engagement, which is fitting given the magnitude and nature of the program. The RMPP is the first of its kind, and it deserves to be done right, even if that means slowing it down a little. I thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Counselor.
Thank you, Counselor. Next up, we have Mayor Rory Bielostowski. And you can go ahead and sit, in that open seat right there.
Oh, it's on. Are we on? Okay, thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for listening to me this morning and providing the opportunity to speak. I will just begin my comments. So, ODOT stated in its memorandum sent to you all that the public deserves to see a transparent process and a clear picture of the region's future before a decision is made on this RTP. Presuming that statement supported their argument and position. This begs the question, though, I think, do we have a clear picture of the region's future with the Regional Mobility Pricing Project, also known as tolling all lanes of 42 miles of our main interstates, altering the lives of everybody? This is an unprecedented project, and I submitted written comments that I hope you will all consider, sharing some of West Lynn's experience. A few points that I wanted to raise today in my brief testimony. There's so much that we don't know about this project. Is this region really ready to authorize the RMPP? We don't know the benefits and whether they'll outweigh the costs. For congestion, ODOT presented data to RTAC showing that the RMPP would only save 3 to 5 minutes on I-205 for a through trip and 5 to 10 minutes on I-5. So people may pay 4 tolls on 205 to save 3 minutes. Is this really worth it to manage congestion? We don't know the cost of tolls to constituents. We don't know how much the tolling proposal will bring in, and we don't know whether revenue will be shared with local governments, which ODOT has said is illegal, potentially under the federal law. And what about diversion impacts to local street systems in our counties and cities and how they will be addressed? It hasn't been very good in the 205 project. I submitted written comments showing West Lynn only got a small pedestrian improvement for our entire community, even though traffic was projected to increase maybe 100% through our business district. So how much money is set aside for that in the RMPP? We have no idea. And lastly, I just want to touch on the low-income community, our low-income community members. We've all heard about the low-income toll program and appreciate the work, but ODOT said at a recent meeting this summer, at an RTAC meeting, that if they get 5% of people to enroll in the program, they will be national leaders in the space. 5%. So that means 95% of eligible people would not be enrolled. And I think that's very concerning. Is the program going to work? We don't know. Given that there are so many unanswered questions and what some of us have been through during the I-205 project, I would urge you all to think carefully about whether to side with ODOT or your advisory body comprising the public and local governments on the topic. Do you support implementing tolling on all lanes of 42 miles of our freeways, changing the lives of everyone, while not having answers to key questions that our communities deserve? In light of the foregoing, I strongly believe that this region needs to require more from ODOT through a standalone RTP amendment process. And you can read more of my points in my written testimony. And thank you for your consideration. I would support the amendments from MPAC. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Sarah Iannarone. All right. Sarah, you should be able to unmute yourself now. You'll have 3 minutes, and your time will begin when you begin speaking.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Good morning, Chair Gonzalez and esteemed JPAC members. I am Sarah Iannarone, Executive Director of the Street Trust. I also sit on TPAC and RTAC. Thanks to you and Metro staff and all the other advisory committees for the hundreds of hours of work on this RTP update. Our organization spent a lot of time the past 2 years educating and engaging the public and advocating so this plan increases safety, accessibility, affordability, and freedom for the people of our region. We're excited about the mobility, equity, and pricing policies in particular. 6 years ago, we were involved in developing HB 2017, which we understood as a commitment from the legislature and governor to alleviate Portland's congestion problem through a coordinated congestion pricing strategy. Before you today, in part, as the Regional Mobility Pricing Project, aka RTP Project 12304. So let's talk about the pricing amendments you're discussing today and why. They're there primarily to ensure a more stringent oversight of ODOT, to ensure that pricing is implemented through an equity lens, especially for our low-income residents, and to ensure that local concerns, like Mayor Rory shared, that the toll program is treating our local partners fairly. And it's my understanding that the amendments have garnered some support in this group. While I'm not fully convinced they're necessary, I deeply understand and empathize with the reasons why local reps like Mayor Buck would find it necessary to champion them. And I said this to the OTC commissioners at their meeting last week, Ryan Winsheimer, so I feel comfortable saying it here. The crux of the matter is not with the pricing program, but ODOT's lack of trust with the public, that we don't agree that what they say will happen. I think it's JPAC's role here to make sure that the history of policies and decisions that ODOT has made that have not consistently prioritized equitable outcomes or transparent processes are managed effectively through JPACT, especially the MTEP process. This deficit of trust is why we find ourselves this morning grappling with doubts over revenue sharing and diversion mitigation, which leaders should realistically be negotiating in faith at state tables like RTAC, EMAC, the OTC, and even the Joint Committee on Transportation in the legislature. This controversy highlights valid concerns about governance, community engagement, and the prioritization of equitable outcomes. And so whether or not this amendment today is the best course of action, the conversation it has sparked is essential. It reflects a growing demand for transportation system that's not only functional, but fair and representative of the public's transportation needs and desires. And while I might not support the Buck Amendment at this time for technical reasons, I can't stress enough the importance for all of us in holding ODOT accountable when it comes to implementation of the pricing program. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of how. RMPP only works if local concerns about safety and revenue sharing are addressed, if residents across the region can access the active and public and transportation options they need, and if system pricing is used to manage demand primarily, rather than generating revenue for projects which increase capacity for drive-alone trips. Whatever you decide today on the pricing amendments, I hope we'll take the fact that it was issued in the first place as a red flag about the direction that we're headed as a region and as Oregonians. Moving forward, we all need to reassess our policies, strengthen our commitment to transparency and accountability, and build trust with the communities we serve. Then we can move forward together in the ways that we need to as a region, with a renewed focus on creating a transportation system that is safe, efficient, and equitable for all. Thanks for your consideration of our perspective, and good luck with your discussion this morning. Thank you for your service. Have a good meeting.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have Indy Namkoon. So Indy, you'll have 3 minutes, and your time will begin when you begin speaking.
Thank you. Good morning, JPAC members. My name is Indy Namkoon. I am Verde's Transportation Justice Coordinator and a community representative on TPAC. Thank you for your time this morning and the opportunity to comment. We've been conducting community engagement, participating in TPAC meetings, and you've seen me here before. So my organization has been tracking this for just a moment, and we're really heartened by the progress made so far, both in the core plan and the thoughtful staff and committee work to respond to public comment and improve the regional transportation plan before its passage. unbundling transparency and accountability measures for how limited resources are directed to our most urgent safety needs on the system are a really important and responsive change made from the original plan. We're really excited to see concrete plans to reform the call for projects and ensure that future updates deliver on the potential set out by our regional vision, goals, and policies. We're eager to see work to address faulty assumptions baked into the climate analysis. The new mobility policy, we think, is going to be game-changing, delivering better safety, mobility, and climate outcomes for communities across the region for years to come. There's a lot to be excited about. We're also really encouraged to see the collaboration consideration made by Metro and many other jurisdictions represented here to address concerns and challenges identified by advocates. I'll be brief today because you do have decisions left to make where the stakes are high and the outcomes uncertain, particularly regarding the TPAC recommendations regarding price projects. I will be learning about some of the new details made available since our own vote for the first time along with you today. So it's hard to say right now in this moment exactly how I think you should vote on these amendments. But I do know what I hope you'll consider as the people charged with representing the best interest of your communities in this process as you deliberate and as you navigate what comes after. Real congestion pricing for our region has the potential to promote and expand clean and affordable transportation options across many modes of travel, geographies, and income levels. We deserve the outcomes that come when we get this right. But pricing mechanisms need to be rolled out thoughtfully and equitably. People impacted by these policies need to understand why they're paying what they'll pay, what they'll get in return, and what their other options will be, including a robust and low barrier, low income program and revenue sharing that can support a range of alternatives that are competitive on convenience and reliability, as EMAC and other key voices at the state have recommended. This is not just the right thing to do to avoid exacerbating existing racial and economic inequities baked into our system, but from where I'm sitting, it looks more and more like the only way to actually practically and politically get it done. You, as local, regional, and state decision makers and stakeholders, deserve time, transparency, accountability, and influence to shape these projects as they progress and come back for future decisions, whenever and however that happens. And the communities you serve are relying on you to do your best to get these projects right. Today's decision will be one of many steps in that process because, and you may think this is good news or bad news, after this meeting adjourns, that work will still not be close to done. But we're with you as you do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Indy.
Thank you. All right. That is everybody who has signed up in advance to testify. I'll just give folks, once again, if you would like to sign up to testify now, you can hit the raise hand button. Oh, actually, we have one person that I missed earlier. Apologies. We have Joe Courtwright now. All right, Joe, you should be able to unmute and turn on your camera now. You'll have 3 minutes, and your time will begin when you begin speaking.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. Joe Courtwright. I'm the director and economist at City Observatory. I've done a close look at the climate analysis in the Regional Transportation Plan. And what's being presented and offered to you in the RTP is simply not adequate and contains major contradictions. I know everyone in this room believes there's a climate crisis. I know you all agree that we need to do something. We've taken bold steps, or at least had bold rhetoric about lowering our carbon emissions. And more than almost a decade ago, Metro adopted its climate smart plan, which called for substantial progress in reducing carbon emissions. But unfortunately, in that decade, transportation climate emissions are actually going up rather than going down. We're not simply failing to make enough progress. We're actually going in the wrong direction. And that is not acknowledged in the RTP. Instead, in the RTP, what Metro has done is to substitute its own model of what it thinks would happen for the actual data. So it turns out that cars are actually getting older, dirtier, and larger, and increasing greenhouse gases as a result. So what's happening is we're utterly failing to meet our climate objectives. And what the climate smart strategy called for was having the region look at its progress and take action if we weren't online to achieve our objectives. And that's simply not happening. And in fact, the RTP has really two sets of books about what's going to happen with driving and climate in the region. The only way we can achieve the state climate goals is if we reduce VMT. And In Appendix J of the RTP, your staff asserts that we will hold greenhouse gases to, VMT to approximately its current level of about 20 million miles per day in the region. But then if you go to Appendix I, which is your performance measures, which describe the model that we'll use to size the system and make investments, it says that we're going to drive 25 million miles a day, or 20% more than we do currently. There's a complete and utter contradiction between what you're asserting for climate purposes, that we won't drive any more than we do today, and the assumptions that you're making that guide the investments in the transportation system that say we'll be driving 5 million miles per day more than we are currently. To have such a wide discrepancy, 5 million miles a day in your estimation of our future, in my mind, constitutes climate fraud, because what you're planning for and the system that you're going to build is going to increase the amount of driving and increase the amount of pollution in a way that makes it impossible to achieve our climate objectives. And that 25 million mile a day figure is being used to rationalize an expansion of highway capacity, which we will know will need to lead to added driving and added pollution and added costs for the region. And finally, I just want to say, you're talking about regional mobility pricing. That is intrinsic to achieving your climate objectives. If you do not have regional mobility pricing and tolls and much higher fees for driving, which is assumed in your staff's climate analysis, you do not achieve the climate goals. And if you do implement regional mobility pricing, your staff's work and ODOT's own work show that you do not need any additional capacity. For the Rose Quarter, for example, if you implement regional mobility pricing, you get better results than if you spend $1.9 billion widening the roadway there. So please, it's time to eliminate the climate fraud that's embedded in the regional transportation plan, to have one set of books that says we're going to hold driving to its current level, and to embrace pricing in a way that enables us to achieve our climate objectives and avoid wasteful spending on capacity that we don't need and that will undermine our climate objectives. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. All right, Connor, I think that's it, right?
Yes, that is everybody who has their hand up on Zoom and everybody who has signed up in advance. I'll also just note for JPACT members that we have had some written testimonies sent in after the 4 p.m. deadline that I haven't been able to send to you all yet, but I will work to get that to you as soon as possible.
Thanks, Connor. All right. Well, sincere thank you to everyone that made the effort to testify for our morning meeting today. I think it exemplifies the spirit of conversation and our commitment to our transportation system, and it's very much appreciated. I'm going to move on our meeting to acknowledge the fatal crashes and injuries and deaths that have occurred in our region this last month. For folks that are new to JPACT, each month JPACT reads the names of individuals that have been impacted in our transportation system. We do this to acknowledge the work in our hands to make the transportation system as safe as possible, and a reminder that these tragedies are preventable with our work. So I'm going to invite Catherine Charlo, Planning, Development, and Research Director at Metro, to provide this update.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, JPACT members, for allowing the time for this. This one is a longer list. The October fatal traffic crashes in Clackamas, Multnomah, and Washington counties were as follows. Morgan A. Helms, walking. Clayton Grant Kenyon, 67, driving. Legend Michael Toure, 4, walking. Jeremy David Clement, 29, driving. Jerry Lynn Roth, 66, driving. Chris William Garfield, 44, motorcycling. Ilya Ilich Bosovic, 24, driving. Balbina Andrade, 63, driving. Unidentified, walking. Unidentified, driving. Jamal Haji Hassan Kimo, 44, driving. Jose Luis Macedo, 27, driving. James Brian Fenimore, 65, walking. Brandon Paul Coleman, 33, walking. Mark S. Sinclair, 68, driving. Bradley J. Burchard, 43, driving. James E. Johnson and Lisa T. Johnson, 64 and 60, driving. And Alexander Joseph Vallejo, 22, motorcycling.
Thank you, Catherine. Certainly a longer list than usual. Some short updates for me before we move on to our business. At the October JPAC meeting, you all gave a thumbs up to submitting a comment letter to the Oregon Transportation Commission on the 2027-2030 STIP Transportation Improvement Program, statewide Transportation Improvement Program, apologies, and the allocation of $70 million in discretionary funding in a manner that is consistent with the values that we've communicated here many a year. Councilor Lewis testified at the OTC meeting in person on behalf of the region, on behalf of JPAC, advocating for investments into district highways as a mean of implementing the policy objectives of the recently adopted Oregon Transportation Plan, as well as working in partnership with the Portland region to raise revenues for transportation and the things we care about. Councilor Lewis, your testimony has had an effect as the final decision by the OTC. We'll look to invest the discretionary dollars towards transportation projects that advance the outcomes of safety, equity, and addressing climate change. So thank you so much for doing that. And we're going to be able to leverage a lot of these cost efficiencies with ADA projects and other things like that. And, you know, I got to have a little plug in here for arterials. While the $70 million in funding isn't necessarily dedicated to urban arterials, the approach being applied to allocating those dollars will likely support a lot of very important investments in our region. So we're grateful to the OTC and to ODOT for that collaboration. Before I move on, Ryan, I don't know if there's anything else you want to share about the decision and any recommendations on how we can stay involved with those discretionary dollars.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thanks for the opportunity to reflect on that. It was really nice to have Councilor Lewis testify. I think the OTC really appreciates hearing from people in the region directly, but I think the letter and the fact that we had provided that in advance and given them an opportunity to kind of take that into consideration was also taken into the staff consideration as they were developing the approach. So thanks to the region for providing that. I'm glad we had an opportunity to work together and make a difference there. I also had the opportunity during my presentation there to share a lot about the arterial safety. The actions ODOT has been taking and is continuing to take, what the region's doing, and how we're making some progress there, as well as the overwhelming need. It was, as I was presenting that, I was being very careful to say, there's a lot of things we are doing. We're making good progress, but there is a lot more to do. And I think they understand that and took it to heart. So thanks again to the region for helping that. I look forward to figuring out, as that program develops, how we can incorporate that into some of the scoping work we're doing. And as you are seeing opportunities, when we bring our project list to you, the 200% list that we're going to be scoping and talking about, if you see opportunities there, please continue to share those with my team and we'll work to incorporate those. It's a great opportunity to add connectivity, lighting, other safety features as part of these other projects that we're delivering. So thanks.
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it. All right, so now on to our consent agenda. Item 4. Yes?
Sorry, just very quickly, I also wanted to share with everyone, and I just didn't have an opportunity, there wasn't a spot for this, so I just wanted to add it in real quick. We are doing rolling slowdowns this morning on I-205. So for those of you watching or those of you heading home, please be aware of that. There's gonna be some rolling slowdowns. We're taking care of an issue that we discovered as we were doing construction on the I-205 Abernathy Bridge. There's a couple of things that need to be removed, so we're working to do that, but in order to do it safely, we have to do some rolling slowdown. So I just want people to be aware of the traffic impacts. It's on Trip Check. It's also on our website, so please, if you're gonna be traveling 205 today, just be aware of that. Thanks.
All right, great. So onto our consent agenda, items 4.1, 4.2, consideration of the October JPAC minutes and resolution number 23-5365 for the purpose of amending and adding new federal discretionary plus Metro Tismo program awards to the 2024-27 MTIP. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
So moved? I didn't see. by Curtis,
Second.
seconded by Counselor Simpson. Can I get all in favor?
Chair,
Oh, yes.
I'd just like to make a
Apologize.
comment if I could.
Commissioner Savas, I didn't see your.
Chair Gazal, thank you for recognizing me. I just wanted to just share with you a little bit of difficulty this morning. That is that I started coming to the council chambers for meetings 25 years ago in 1997, actually 26 years ago. I've been hundreds of meetings, and typically when you walk in the door, public or us, or at the table, we have the agenda, we have materials, and there are no materials this morning. So I want to apologize. I have my electronic device, which is my phone, but I was anticipating that we would at least have some material to follow through the agenda, and we don't have that here today. So if I ask for more detail of what that might be, we're just listening to the words. We have nothing in writing.
Thanks, Commissioner Savas. I can certainly get us to print everyone an agenda right now. The meeting packet is quite substantial. Ryan has it to his left, actually. So, I mean, you bring up a very good point about it. You know, it's important to do so. If we could please, Connor, if we could please print an agenda so folks are able to follow the conversation today. And I'm also
I
gonna
don't need one. I like to go digital.
Yeah, okay.
So let's save that tree.
All right, thanks, Mayor. So we can print a series of agendas for folks that would like to have one. But yes, I mean, I would definitely encourage folks to please use a digital format today if possible. And Commissioner Savas, we will work to accommodate that. Apologies. So on this, we have a motion and a second on the agenda, on the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? All right, seeing none, our consent agenda passes. Thank you, everyone. So on to our action items. Before we really begin to lean into these, I want to share some words. You know, this RTP has been a culmination of 2 years of a lot of very hard work, commitment from all of our staffs that help us come to this table prepared and understanding the nuance of what is on the pages that we're approving today. And you as leaders of our partnering jurisdictions, community members, I just want to thank everyone very much for the commitment to this process and to getting us to this date. There's been a lot of really important discussion. I specifically want to thank Kim Ellis as well for leading this effort on behalf of Metro and on behalf of the region. I know your job is not always easy, but you always do it with grace. So thank you so much, Kim. So Kim, please summarize what's in front of us. Then I'll open up for questions before we move into voting on the items in the RTP package. We have 7 separate action items to take today on the RTP, and there will be windows for robust discussion. After Kim makes her presentation, I'll also explain some of the procedural steps that we're going to take, and also explain the windows for amendments as well. So yeah, Kim, please.
Great. Thank you, Councilor Gonzalez. So I'm happy to be here today, and yes, we have a lot of work this morning to things to talk about and work through. So I will give a brief overview of each of the different action items, and then Councilor Gonzalez, I do have slides after my main presentation that we can walk through for each of the individual actions, just so people have a visual cue of what you're working on. So next slide, please. This is the timeline that we've been working under, so I was able to move the dot to the end here, and this is the day that we are taking action, requesting JPACT's final action, considering TPAC's recommendation to you that was included in your packet. Next slide. And following JPAC's action, your recommendation will be brought forward to the Metro Council for their consideration on November 30th. We will also be holding a final public hearing as part of that council action. Next slide. This milestone that we've reached is the result of many discussions, engagement with community, engagement with business, local governments, elected officials, public officials, tribes, resource, state, federal agencies throughout this 2-year process that have shaped what is before you and recommended by TPAC for your approval. Next slide. The recommendations are primarily coming to you in 2 parts. Exhibit C of the ordinance 23-1496, has part 1, which are the discussion items, and these 5 discussion items are what we would be walking through individually and taking action on individually. Part 2 are what we have called consent items, and these are several hundred recommended changes that are recommended to be approved as a bundle by consent without further discussion. Next slide. In the consent items, this, again, TPAC has recommended approval of this as a bundle, and we'll take that action first following the presentation. Next slide. And then the discussion items, these 5 policy topics really emerged and have been topics of discussion throughout the update process, and particularly as part of the final public comment period. And so there are a series of individual recommendations that were included in your packet for each of these 5. And so now I will walk through each of the 5 as recommended by TPAC to you. Next slide. On the first topic is around the investment emphasis. The recommendations that TPAC made and that also reflect recommendations that MPAC has made to the Metro Council. There are recommendations to make some adjustments to the project list, particularly unbundling some of the ODOT safety projects to better account for those investments in the system and include them in our analysis. Regular reporting on investments the region as a whole is making, not just ODOT, but also local agencies and other partners to improve safety on our transportation system. And then looking ahead to the next update to the Regional Transportation Plan, which we do every 5 years, and spend time in advance of that update reviewing our process, our metrics and tools, developing policy guidance around the next call for projects, and also ensuring that there's a longer review and refinement period as part of that evaluation work as part in the next update to the plan. Another recommendation that is included in there is also continuing to work to improve coordination and support, particularly for the smaller jurisdictions in our region, to participate in that call for projects process and to help facilitate more coordination for projects that across multiple jurisdictional boundaries. Next slide. The second topic here, and I expect today will be the bulk of conversation and discussion, really is around how the pricing policy that was developed as part of this RTP is implemented going forward. And in particular, the recommendations are really focused on ensuring that the regional and local concerns that have been raised about the Regional Mobility Pricing Project and I-205 toll project are addressed as part of the NEPA work that ODOT is currently undertaking. And that as part of that, not only addressing those concerns, but following through on the commitments that have been previously made by ODOT to project partners. In addition, that as future decisions are made by JPACT and the Metro Council regarding the MTIP, the Metropolitan Transportation Improvement Program, which programs funding for those projects, as well as the RTP, that the pricing policy that is contained in the draft 2023 Regional Transportation Plan is implemented. And then the last recommendation is specific, and you heard testimony about this today, to consider and discuss and consider the MPAC recommendation to split the Regional Mobility Pricing Project into 2 phases. retaining the preliminary engineering phase, which is what is needed to be in the regional transportation plan financially constrained list, in that constrained list to allow it to continue to move forward in the NEPA work, but to move the construction phase to the strategic project list, which would in effect require an amendment to the regional transportation plan in the future to allow that project to move forward and to receive federal approval at the conclusion of the NEPA process. So it does add additional requirements and work to be able to advance that project once the NEPA process has drawn to a conclusion. Next slide. This slide does not show what it should be showing, which is the strikeout language in your packet. So on page 6, page 7 of Exhibit C, Part 1, has the actual language and strike through and underscore, but essentially TPAC in their discussion and deliberation, as they made their recommendation to you, again, recommended that you discuss and consider this. TPAC raised in the staff report is highlighted a number of concerns, both about the project itself and the information uncertainty around it, some of which you heard in the testimony today, but also a desire for further leverage beyond the MTIP amendments that have already been put in place in the existing recommendations. So we will come back to that as part of the discussion. Next slide. The third area is around regional transportation funding, and the recommendations there are really setting up future work of JPACT and partners across the region to prepare for, work together, and participate in state-level funding discussions around the future of transportation funding, including the next legislative session in 2025. Continuing to work together to increase our region's competitiveness for federal funding. There's a lot of federal transportation dollars available that we as a region really need to be positioning ourselves to be competitive to bring those dollars to this region. Additional work is needed on researching potential revenue sources, also a desire and recommendation to continue to develop strategies to help fund the infrastructure that is needed in areas that the region has agreed should be areas of future growth and that have been brought into the urban growth boundary. And then a significant recommendation around securing long-term funding for transit. The revenue that are available are not adequate to advance transit in the ways that our 2040 growth concept and climate smart strategy call for, and that this recommendation is really focused on continuing to work on this, but to do more to really secure a long-term strategy. Next slide, please. The fourth area are around the climate tools and analysis. As you heard in testimony, there have been concerns raised about some of the assumptions that the state has used in setting our targets, as well as the tools that we have been provided by the state to do our climate analysis. Our recommendations are to update our analysis to address some of the concerns that have been raised, but also to continue to work as we move forward to continue to improve our evaluation and modeling tools to assess climate impacts of investments in our transportation system, and also to request the state to review some of the key assumptions that underlie our region's strategy, as well as the targets that have been adopted for our region to meet. That is something that is required by the Land Conservation and Development Commission by mid-2025, and they are committed to doing that review and look forward to working with us on that. The last recommendation is around identifying actions that the region can take, local governments and other partners can take to advance the electrification transition that is going to be very critical to meeting our climate goals. There's a lot of work that ODOT has been leading and at the federal level. And so this is really aimed at trying to identify where there may be gaps in those efforts, and that there are roles that local governments can play and the region can play in supporting that. Next slide. And then the last topic area is around the mobility policy implementation. As we've previously presented, there is remaining work to do before that policy can be implemented at the local level. And so the recommendations that are included in your packet from TPAC are really committing to completing that work, working in partnership with local governments, the state, and TPAC going forward to complete that remaining work. And all of that would come back to you for future action as part of updating our regional transportation functional plan and other pieces as needed. And this policy really, and these recommendations, do emphasize the importance of the region continuing to shift away from a sole focus on vehicle congestion to a much more broader multimodal approach that really considers all the ways that people travel throughout the system at different times of the day. Next slide. So the overall action before you after taking action on those previous individual discussion and consent items is a recommendation from TPAC for JPACT to approve Ordinance 23-1496. That ordinance includes Exhibit A, which is the public review draft regional transportation plan that Ryan has over on his table there. But it also includes amendments to the regional framework plan to align the goals and objectives in the draft RTP within the regional framework plan in Exhibit B. Exhibit C are the pieces that you'll be acting on individually, Part 1 and 2. And then Exhibit D is something that the Metro Council adopts. JPACT doesn't adopt, but that was included. A draft of our statewide goal findings were included in your packet. So with that, I will turn it back to Councilor Gonzalez to lead us through. And if you can go to the next slide, Connor. This outlines the 7 actions.
All right, excellent. So as has been mentioned, we have quite a few actions to take today. So I want to explain a little bit about the procedure that I will try and run this meeting through. So let's lean in and do it. So as we move through each item, I'm going to call for a motion in a second, and after a motion and a second have been made, then we're going to discuss that item. I understand that there are some amendments that will be made during our meeting. I ask that you please hold those amendments until the motion and second has been made with respect to the particular discussion item on the screen, so that we're able to move through our agenda. If you have an amendment on an item that is not on this list, then I would like for us to be able to consider them after discussion item 5, so that we're able to work through our existing work plan. So I hope that's okay with everyone. So we've already approved the consent items, so we can begin. No?
That's a different set. That's a consent packet that has to do with.
Okay, apologies. Thank you. First, we will vote on the items recommended in the consent bundle. Is there a motion and a second to approve the consent bundle without further discussion?
So moved.
Thank you, Counselor.
Second.
All right, moved by Counselor Lewis, seconded by Mayor Stovall. Do we need to do a roll call for this, or just a voice vote? All right, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right.
Chair Gonzalez, I see that Commissioner Savas has his sign.
Commissioner Savas, I apologize.
Yeah, so I just want to clarify, thank you, Chair Gonzalez. I do have a friendly amendment under Chapter 2. So if I heard you correctly, it's you suggest introducing that after item 5? on that list that was flashed on the screen earlier?
Yes,
Okay.
Commissioner Savas, it would be after discussion, item 5, after the regional mobility policy implementation discussion.
Great, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. And again, apologies, I need to look for those name stands propping up. Thank you for calling me. All right, so we're gonna begin with our first action, our first discussion topic, which is the investment emphasis. This discussion topic 1 is considering approval of the TPAC recommendation for the investment emphasis topic. Do I have a motion and a second to approve TPAC's recommendation for investment emphasis?
So moved.
Moved by Mayor Buck,
Second.
seconded by Ryan Winsheimer. Do we have any discussion on the investment emphasis? Mr. Winsheimer.
Thank you. And I guess before I get into my conversation specific to that, I just want to say I agree with the chair that staff's done an amazing job. This has been a really long road. And so the idea that we're at this point where we can have a conversation about all of these items and we're finally at the recommendation point, I appreciate the focus on safety. Specific to this item, I really appreciate that everybody has been engaged in the safety conversation. It's really important to ODOT that we are focused on that we're having an opportunity to focus on it, that we have informed conversations about how we're doing safety, and that we're had a chance to talk about what the ODOT projects look like in that. And I know that folks would sometimes like to see a bit higher level of detail. I think we're gonna have an opportunity to talk about how we can do some of that work as we look at revising the process for submitting projects into the future. But this is a good first step. ODOT's committed to making sure that we are sharing that safety data with you, specific to the unbundling, as well as coming and presenting something similar. I'd like to present something similar to what we did at the OTC related to arterial safety so that we can have an opportunity to see what is happening on the ground and what's to come. So thanks for this work, and I look forward to supporting the motion.
Thank you, Ryan. Any other comments? Okay, seeing none, I will invite Connor to call roll.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Jesse Beeson.
I vote yes. I do want to just note that I have to leave at 9:10, and if I do leave, my Chief of Staff, Sarah Ryan, has something to read into the record on my behalf.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Commissioner Nafisa Faye.
Yes.
Commissioner Paul Savas.
Aye.
Commissioner Mingus Maps.
Aye.
Mayor Travis Stovall.
Aye.
Mayor Jeff DeLynn.
Aye.
Mayor Joe Buck.
Aye.
Ryan Winsheimer.
Aye.
Sam Dessou. Curtis Robinhold.
Aye.
Ali Mirza-Khalili. Councilor Ashton Simpson.
Aye.
Councilor Christine Lewis.
Aye.
Carly Francis.
Aye.
Mayor Ann McInerney Ogle.
Aye.
And Sean Donahue.
All right, thanks, Connor. So our discussion topic number 1 passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone. On to our second, which our staff has passed around a page for everyone, just so you're able to follow the conversation. Discussion topic number 2 is considering approval of the TPAC recommendation for the pricing policy implementation. Do I have a motion and a second to approve TPAC's recommendation for pricing policy implementation? And just for the record, that is right in front of you here. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mayor Buck.
Second.
Seconded by Mayor Stovall. All right, excellent. So do we have any discussion? Mr. Winsheimer.
Thank you, thank you. I'm glad that this has been forwarded to TPAC for some additional conversation. There's a lot of questions that remain about how will pricing be implemented, how will the toll project move forward, how will the NEPA alternatives shake out, what are those implications? I think those are good questions, and we are going to have an opportunity to work through those. We have many tables to do that at. Whether it's RTAC, whether it's continuing to come to OTC and sharing the views similar to how it was done earlier. There's lots of places to continue to have that conversation. I understand and I'm hearing loud and clear that people want to continue to have this conversation, and I think we should. I guess what I am not feeling good about is the idea that we would move something out of the financially constrained, which was something that MPAC recommended and TPAC wanted us to have a conversation about. So understanding that, I have prepared a motion. I have shared it with all of you. It's on the table over there if someone wants another written copy, but I'm happy to read it into the record, which is, I move to approve the TPAC recommendation for discussion topic 2 with the following revised language inserted in place of TPAC recommended action number 2, which is retain the I-5 and 205 regional mobility pricing project as a single project within the RTP constrained project list. And it replaces the language in recommended action 2, page 7, exhibit C, part 1. It's all in here in this, if you want to find it. But it's also here before you.
Yeah.
In making that, so that's the motion. I'll leave it at that for now.
Thanks, Ryan. So we have a motion on the table. So my understanding of procedure is that we'll need to have a second, and then we'll either need to vote to approve it or deny it, and then we can move on to other motions. Is that correct? Okay.
Second.
So seconded by Mayor Stovall. Mayor Stovall. So Kim or Carrie, just so we're very clear about the amendment on the table, and with respect to TPAC's conversation and there was a lack of a recommendation essentially from TPAC. So can you explain where we are and where Ryan's amendment falls within where we are right now?
Yes. So in your packet, pages 5 through 7 have the full set of individual recommendations for policy topic 2. And of that is this one recommendation that was handed out here today. And what Ryan is recommending to strike this recommendation and replace it with the language that he just read, which is to retain the I-5 and I-205 Regional Mobility Pricing Project, RTP Project 12304, as a single project within the RTP constrained project list. So that change would change one piece of the whole set of recommendations that were included in your packet.
Okay. So we have a motion, we have a second, and now we can invite discussion on the subject. I saw Mayor Joe Buck, your card went up first, then Metro Councilor Christine Lewis, and then Commissioner Paul Savas. If we could proceed in that order, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chair Gonzalez. So I guess I would advocate for the motion that we was originally put on the table. And I just want to provide some comments around, the decision that was made at the recommendation that was made at the MPAC table. I think MPAC voted very deliberately to approve this amendment to separate the PE and construction phases between the constrained and strategic project lists. And I appreciate the opportunity to be here today to kind of carry that amendment forward. So to clarify, this proposed amendment, as it's been stated, clearly does not eliminate the RMPP from the 20-year plan horizon, but rather it ensures that as the project continues to advance in formative detail, that the public voices that this body and this RTP process hold as critical have an opportunity to help shape the project into an actionable form that will meet the goals of the RTP and reflect the on-the-ground needs of the folks that we represent. Contrary to the binary fallacy that the untangling of these project phases from the constrained list will jeopardize the RMPP, RTP goals, and run afoul of legislative direction, really the only thing at stake here is the amount of public engagement that we as JPAC members decide this impactful project should be afforded. So the MPAC amendment was proffered for several key reasons. The first, the RMPP is far from being a project form to a specificity that has thus allowed the region to meaningfully comment and provide feedback on it. Over the past years of RTP engagement, we have asked basic questions at coordinating committee meetings, at MPAC meetings, at these all around the region table. Some of those questions: how will the RMPP pricing interface with project-specific tolls like I-205 Abernathy Bridge and I-5 Rose Quarter? How much will the RMPP tolls be? What projects will the RMPP pay for? How will diversion and the safety of local roads and emissions pushed into local communities be mitigated? There have been no answers to any of those questions thus far. These are many of the same questions asked around the I-205 project that were mired in such lack of clarity that legislative leaders and the governor herself stepped in to cease the process and demand more outreach to the community. As you all know, an interim legislative committee advancing that public outreach is now underway. The only thing different about the RMPP and the I-205 toll project is that RMPP is less understood, less formed, and impacts a much larger portion of the region. The second reason, legislative leadership has publicly signaled a comprehensive transportation funding conversation in 2025, owing to the fact that the current path forward is fraught with community concern, lack of cohesive nexus to regional safety, climate, and equity goals, and the growing fiscal dilemmas our state transportation agency finds itself in. This amendment creates the space for the RMPP project articulation to incorporate the forthcoming statewide and region-wide conversations and ensure that we're not stopping short of realizing future transportation funding needs that may not be the current plan, but may be the plan that actually works for all Oregonians. Third, the RMPP disproportionately impacts certain communities abutting the project roadways in a way that is not fully understood, and consequently, that those communities have been unable to respond to. In this way, it's critical for the JPACT table to recognize that disparate impact and show a certain amount of deference to those of us representing those communities in the same way we would defer to you for project-specific impacts in your communities. The cities of Clackamas County are not asking for the region to foreclose on the benefits of congestion pricing and other road user fees. For certain, we see these mechanisms as critical to meeting our future transportation needs and other goals. But rather, we're asking you to allow our residents to have a voice in the process that the current RTP update process has not afforded them, owing to the fact that the RMPP has not yet been defined enough to be fully understood. And my final point is that the MTIP amendment process alone is wholly insufficient, a wholly insufficient public engagement plan given the magnitude of the RMPP, the current lack of clarity and specificity around the project, and the resulting inability of impacted communities to thus far have had meaningful input. As you all know, MTIP amendment process is a 30-day public comment period with an up or down vote before this body. This is a process well-suited for garden variety road transportation projects that may have been reprioritized. It is not, however, appropriate outreach and vetting needed for a newfound pricing project of this scope with so few details currently articulated and even less understood by the regions. JPACT's ultimate decision can only be an informed one if the process allows a robust community engagement process to ensue, and this amendment is the only way to secure that process. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Mayor Buck. I just want to confirm, when you talk about the proposed amendment, you mean the MPAC language that has gone through?
The original, yes.
Okay, the original amendment, not the amendment on the table. Okay, great. Just like for us to track the nuance there. So we're going to go to Councilor Christine Lewis and then Commissioner Savas. I also want to acknowledge, I see Commissioner Mapps's hand up, and then we'll go to Mayor Delane. And I think, Ryan, if your card is still up, then we'll go back to you. So Councilor Lewis.
Sure, thank you so much. I first want to clarify that I'm speaking against the ODOT amendment brought this morning on paper and to the support broadly of the discussion and recommendations that came out of MPAC. Speaking very specifically to the amendment this morning, I think that ODOT has a opportunity to at some point in the future clarify what is a project, but 205 tolling and RMPP, when convenient, are one project, and when convenient can be 2 or 3 different projects, and it's all a matter of a little bit of sleight of hand what gets rolled up, whether it's just planning, whether it's implementation, whether it's construction, and whether it's roadway improvement that is incorporated in each of those 2 projects. I think very specific to the conversations that are coming out of communities that I represent, the 205 tolling project is a little bit of a canary in a coal mine around the lack of ability to understand and grapple at the community level with the real purpose and need, and I use those words very intentionally, of tolling. We all see a future in which we fall off this gas tax cliff. We all see a future in which we need to have a pricing mechanism in order to support the way that we get around this region. That said, we do not yet have a refined planning process that helps us grapple as a region with our transportation future, where the gas tax no longer exists and where we are using pricing on our highways, not only to control for carbon emissions, not only signal to a market of people driving in single occupancy vehicles, that there are times that they should be on the road and times that they should think twice about being on the road in a single occupancy vehicle. But there are also drastic to create alternatives and choices. The market only works with choices, and right now we don't have the adequate choices or ways to contemplate choices of the future. So to that end, I think that we are firmly in a planning, visioning, green field, and we are not yet to the point where I think we are comfortable saying we are not putting up red flashing lights on making these investments. I want to see every amount of effort go into good planning process, but I do not think we're at the place where we're giving green light or even yellow light on beginning those investments. As Mayor Buck said, yes, an RTP amendment takes some time, but it's counted in weeks and months compared to the amount of time between where we are and implementing a regional mobility pricing policy. Thank you.
Thanks, Counselor. Commissioner Savas.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I just want to say that for years, I have been a big supporter of ODOT, and I really do appreciate all the great work and the great people who work for ODOT. And I've known Ryan for a long time, Region 1 staff, others. I want to make sure these comments today do not reflect on any of those people. You know, the meetings that our mayors, our citizens, Councilor Lewis, Mayor Joe Buck here today, the meetings we've been at, and we've listened to ODOT make these presentations. Mr. Winsheimer has not been present, nor his typical staff. This is a new part or a new department of ODOT that a lot of you don't see, okay? We see them a lot. The messaging and the confusion, the inconsistency, the contradictions are numerous. I want to just put that out there, which is really why County has been speaking up and speaking loudly, and it's permeating into other parts of the region. So it's not just Clackamas County. So I want to get that on the record. So Ryan, I really appreciate you are well prepared today. You must have at least 9 pages there of material. When I go to page 8, in chapter 8, page 8-70 is where the regional mobility pricing project is actually mostly described, but talked about. 8.3.1.7, okay? There's about a page and a half of text about essentially about the project, but it doesn't really describe the project. And I think that's really what we don't understand. We don't understand what the project really is. We hear what it was 2 years ago or what it was 6 months ago. It constantly changes. RMPP is not a national word. It's essentially a brand. It's not an adjective. It's essentially a brand. And it's changing every time we hear a presentation. RMPP is different than it was a week before. And we are proving today something that we don't understand that is not well defined. Now, certainly that's a lot of work. I totally get that. Earlier this morning, we heard from Mr. Courtwright. I don't always agree with Mr. Courtwright, but today I will agree with a few of his high-level comments when it comes to climate, for example. Now, I disagree maybe on aspects of that, or what causes it, but I spent my whole life in working in the automotive field with emissions, air quality, and so forth. That's been my life's work in a very technical way. I will tell you, while we talk about vehicle miles traveled, the most important thing people need to look at is vehicle hours traveled. So if you take a trip down a congested freeway, you know it's going to take you a lot longer to get down that particular highway. Those hours, those extra time and minutes are emissions coming out that are contaminating our climate. So I agree that it is going the wrong direction, that as proposed and what we have seen in the initial EA of all the traffic studies around the 2 program that ODOT put out, our analysts, our transportation engineers, our staff, out with a fine-tooth comb, and we discovered that actually diversion, vehicle hours traveled, goes up significantly. And that puts that local traffic onto our local roads. And that makes it, there's a 6-time higher probability that people will be hurt on a local road than they will on an interstate. Interstate traffic does not belong on local roads, and the diversion aspects have not been properly addressed. I agree. I think Councilor Lewis's comment with regard to funding and finding a replacement are really important. There are other replacements. I think a lot of us are reasonable people that we expect that we have to figure out a way to pay for these projects. I get that. But we need to find ways that do not induce further diversion than we already have today. The diversion we currently have today, not because of toll, because of the bottleneck, is causing grief in our local communities. West Lynn just spent millions of dollars on a roundabout on 10th Street and Willamette Falls Drive, okay? Go watch that roundabout at 4:30. It's a constant train of cars. Those cars are going through West Lynn. They're not visiting West Lynn. It's the 3rd lane of I-205. That's not properly being addressed. In the mitigation, there's not one, I'm gonna ask Mr., I'm not gonna put Ryan on the spot. Again, I'm a big fan of Ryan here, but Ryan, can you point to any mitigation project that ODOT's committed to for the I-205 diversion, whether it's the Abernathy Bridge or whether it's the RMPP? But I'm struggling to know that all of our TSPs that are incorporated in the RTP have not calculated or studied the right projects to address the diversion as a result of this project. That's a question I have for Mr. Winsheimer.
I was waiting for you to finish. And I guess I'm not sure if this is the right forum for having a project-specific conversation about every detail of that project. The project is being developed now. The project, if you think this is a lot of paperwork, this is just the paperwork from today's packet. This is what all the work that we've spent months working on together to move this RTP forward. It addresses tons of concerns. We've had opportunities to provide feedback. Staff's been responsive. I think ODOT's been responsive, and you can see that in the ODOT safety project bundling, the funding, all of the other things that we're doing. There's a ton of work that's gone into that. What's going on in RMPP would cover all of this table. There is a lot of work going on. You mentioned the fact that it's changing. That's right, and I expect it to continue to. And that's because we're trying to be responsive. That's because they're listening and adapting. It's because they're hearing your concerns and doing different model runs, trying different opportunities. So I would argue that we're going to continue and share that. We are continuing to do that. We're committed to doing that. And topics A through G that talk about accountability and additional steps that we want to see, I'm okay with those. I think that's appropriate. It's part of the process. It's part of project development, and we're going to do all of that. Again, my amendment's talking about the fact that we're trying to move it out of the fiscally constrained, which is how ODOT has projected it's going to spend its money over the next 20 years. We're still continuing to do that. To not have it in the plan is just not reflective of reality in terms of what our current plans are to do. Body, everyone here still has a chance to vote on it.
Well, thank you. I don't want to belabor this much more, but I do appreciate that. I just want to point out that the challenge with this is that the mitigation that we have asked for that was presented is not present anywhere in the document. And there hasn't been any responsibility taken for the diversion we're experiencing today along that corridor. And nor has ODOT contributed one dime to the multi-million-dollar investment West Lynn just made for a roundabout to deal with all that diversion. I do agree. Thank you, Ryan, for sharing some emails with us in the last couple week or so here. I don't disagree with the technicalities of the fiscally constrained rationale. I get that. I also know that it is still identified in the STIP as a on the fiscally constrained list. So I'm not here to argue that, but I think the point I would argue is that there needs to be a lot more work, and that's going to take a lot more time, and I think there is ample time to continue the work to the point. And I don't see this as being an obstruction. I really see it as really addressing some of the very basic needs and questions that are being asked by the region, and to move forward. So it is not, I don't think Mayor Buck's amendment was to obstruct, cancel, or anything else. It was to get more definition around this and go through the processes. And I think I want to just applaud Impact for their work. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Mapps.
Hi, I appreciate this conversation. Since I know this is a complex conversation, let me be clear. I am speaking at the moment in favor of ODOT's amendment. At the same time, I share the concerns raised by our colleagues from Clackamas County and Mayor Rory and Mayor Buck. We all know that tolling will have an impact on our local systems, and those impacts need to be addressed. However, I don't think that last-minute changes to the RTP are the way to address them. Instead, I hope that we can continue to work as a region and with ODOT to get this project right, which is why today I'll vote in favor of the ODOT amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mayor Delane.
Thank you, Chair. I'll try to be brief on this. I'll echo the same point that Commissioner Savas brought up. My staff shared with me the reports from Washington County and said the same thing. You're 6 times more likely to be involved in an accident on our arterials and our collectors instead of those highways, those major thoroughfares like the highway. And I don't think any of us would pick one of our family members to be involved in that accident, given that choice. But that's part of what we're talking about this morning, because I have a real concern about the ideas or expectations. Talk to my constituents and look at how the people in my community travel. There is no alternative, right? They have to get to work every day. They have to come home from work every day. Our community has an average commute of 29 minutes. There is no alternative. Highway, the 57's out there, but to get where you get in 29 minutes will take you 2 hours each way on the bus. That's why I have multi-generational, multi-family houses with 4 and 5 cars at each home driving, because there is no alternative. And they experience that safety concern. Let's talk about equity for a moment. We talked about safety, and you can envision your family being involved in that accident. Washington County Coordinating Committee very clearly signaled that our expectation for an equity program would start at 400% of the federal poverty limit, not 200. The presentation that was brought to us was starting at 200 with a phase-in. That's not the point. I thought we were very clear. I don't know what the other coordinating committees said, but ours was very clear that it would start phase-in at 400%. I'm really concerned how that will work. And I'll give you an idea that hits the ground in my community. We have about 4,000 utility accounts in Cornelius. Every month, 400 of those utility accounts, 10%, have to choose not to pay their water bill. Not because it's a free idea, it's because they can't afford it. They can't afford to pay their water bill. And another 10% of those get their water shut off every month because now they're 3 months behind on their bill. So 10% of my community is foregoing their water bill every month. And what are they choosing instead? A medical bill? Maybe they're paying PG that month. They're paying Northwest Natural. They're paying some other bill. Adding the additional cost of regional utility pricing program and not providing an ability for our working poor throughout the entire region to be easily reviewed and removed from that burden is unspeakable. To Rory's point, a 5% sign-up rate. I've got the real example in my community. Comcast will offer a $10 a month internet. We have almost every home in Cornelius has 1 or 2 types of internet come to it. But we have one of the lowest subscription rates in the region because they can't afford $10 a month to sign up for internet. So they come to the library, and we have a free sponsor program by our foundation that provides hotspots. And the families take these home so their kids can do their homework. That's what we've got. That's the kind of community we're operating in. And I don't see us being silent. I've spoken about alternatives. For a second, I'll talk about diversion. Today was the first time in a long time, because most every day I come to Metro or go to Tigard, to Tualatin, or Sherwood, Google tells me get off the freeway because you can go faster over Barnes Road to get to Portland. That's through people's neighborhoods. Every time I go to Tigard, to Tualatin, or Sherwood, it tells me to get off the highway and drive through people's neighborhoods. We've got a failed highway system today. Diversion will only get worse as we move forward. And if you have, and as the Portland about from ODOT's region that handles looking at RMPP here, the goal would be get one trip canceled a week. If we could just not do one trip. My folks don't have a choice on their job. So the one trip is, do I not go to grandma's? Do I not go visit my family? Do I not go visit my friends? So that's what we're looking at. So I think there's a lot of other ways to address these issues. And if it was my sole choice, I would be supportive of Clackamas and the TPAC recommendation. But the direction, and I will be very illustrative and express from the Washington County Committee, was to hold my nose and vote against the amendment because we don't agree with it. We don't agree with many things, like example that the 99W is not being considered for a higher HC. There's a ton of things in this program we don't agree with and have deep concerns with, but we know it has to move forward. So we're going to hold our nose and we're going to vote in support of these items in spite of what our internal souls tell us to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So Ryan, I see your card up, and then Commissioner Nafisa Fai after you.
Do you want to go ahead?
Okay, Commissioner Fai, would you like to go?
Allison, and thank you, Ryan, for letting me jump in here. And good morning, everyone in the room and everyone virtually here. I want to, well, sort of qualify the vote that we're going to be from the Board of Washington County Commissioners and the vote we're about to take. We're in support of Ryan's amendment, so I'll be voting yes on that. And that is in alignment of also voting yes for the approval of the regional transportation plan, because the regional transportation plan really emphasized the crucial role it plays in shaping our community's future. But I also want to qualify this vote yes for ODOT. It's equally vital for ODOT to actively listen and continually engage with the community, ensuring that diverse voices are heard throughout the planning and the implementation planning process. I know we talked about the MTIP amendment approval process through emails, but ODOT, please hear everyone that this yes vote of this amendment doesn't mean that ODOT is off the hook. We look forward to having robust conversations with ODOT through that process. And I just want to emphasize that this collaborative approach that took place to really get to where we are this morning to approve the regional transportation plan fosters transportation infrastructure that truly meets the needs and the aspirations of the people it serves. So those are just the quick comments I wanted to make, and I'll have a bit more positive comments later on when we get to the approval of the RTP.
Thank you, Commissioner. Ryan, I believe you're the last person with their.
Thank you, and thank you, Commissioner Fai, for those comments. And I just want to express my appreciation for everything that's been shared. Commissioner Lewis, Commissioner Mayor Buck, others, Mr. Savas, around the continuing concerns around the program. And I hear you, and I want to make sure you understand that my motion today is about making sure that this is in the fiscally constrained, that we're able to move forward. But as I'm looking at the recommended actions that we're not talking about, that are part of the original motion, it clearly just demonstrates that ODOT must bring the work of the Equity Mobility Advisory Committee into the analysis, discussion, and influencing decision-making. ODOT will evaluate, document, and address diversion on local routes. JPAC and Metro Council are going to clarify expectations of ODOT to prepare findings that document how our RTP pricing policies and actions, previous ODOT commitments, and other things are addressed when requesting JPAC and the Metro Council consider future MTIP amendments. This is not about getting off the hook. This is about continuing to have that commitment. They're all in here, and we're going to continue to do those. But I would ask that we move forward with the amendment that I've offered. I think what it does is continues to show that as a region, that the modeling we've done and a range of other things, that this plan is really talking about what we plan to do. The how and making sure that we actually do it is, there's still room for that conversation here at JPAC. There's still accountability in this room here at JPAC. And so that's, I think, my final comment. Oh, and I just want to share, and I also provided a whole bunch of documents, so if there's more you have questions about at any point in the future, I'm happy to continue to talk about it.
Okay. Mayor Buck.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to, make sure Ryan, I appreciate the comments. That no matter which direction we go, right? We, ODOT and Metro have the ability to form the how this public outreach. We can do the de minimis, and we do not want to see Clackamas County will be watching. We do not want to see the de minimis throughout this entire process. We have been provided. I'm talking the past 2 years. And it's just the truth, you guys, so short notice of things to come, where even our staff at the city is wholly unaware that these reports are out, that we need to provide short little comment periods. That is unacceptable. That is going to be unacceptable in regards. So that is where our concern comes from. It's ensuring that there's a robust public engagement process, not a 5-day window to read through a stack of pages as large as the packet sitting in front of Mr. Winsheimer and to provide comment. So I hope that is what's heard here in the room today. As we go forward, we expect, our community expects that we do right by them and provide ample opportunity for people to fully understand what's enforced and to work to craft it in a positive way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Buck. Councilor Lewis.
Sure, thank you. I want to be really clear that there's 3 of us who represent constituencies of Clackamas County who are sounding the alarm, not because it benefits Clackamas County. Clackamas County is already in it with 205. I think we're sounding the alarm because our communities are not only hurting in process, but in lack of clarity. And I think we're trying to warn the rest of the region that without intervention, and I hope JPAC takes future action for more intervention, that with the rest of the region, it's going to come our way and locals are left out. So I hope we claw back some local input into the process. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilor. Well, I'm hearing, very loudly and clearly the importance for accountability. The MTIP process has been mentioned a few times as well. And so before I call roll, I want to invite Catherine Charlo, Director of Metro, to kind of give us a lay of the land and any kind of other comments that you might have.
Thank you so much, Chair, and thank you, JPAC members. What I was going to do was read a quick description of what the MTIP process typically is, but Mayor Buck did that for us earlier, which is 30 days notice, public input, and TPAC, JPACT, and the Metro Council weighing. Public input and TPAC, JPACT, and the Metro Council weighing in. But you all do, I had a quick huddle over there with our MPO director, and you all do have the authority to direct us as staff to come back with a more robust MTIP engagement process. We would ask that let me say, our preference would be that we do that after adoption because adoption is a short timeline at this point, but we could absolutely bring something like that back to JPACT. And one of the things where I'm just absorbing as I listen to the conversation is the need for more time to hear information on costs, revenues, diversion impacts, the need to see the MTIP process as a true red light, you know, not a yellow light where you slow down and cruise through, but where you stop and you take stock, and the need for just more transparency and accountability. And I think we could bring something back as part of the MTIP process that reflects those values.
All right, thanks, Catherine. Yeah, I think we'd be hard pressed to find someone on this body that would not be in support of a more robust engagement and to direct Metro staff to create a very comprehensive work plan around this. And I'm hoping that we're able to bring that at our next meeting, everything from quarterly updates to really having the opportunity to lean in, dive in, whatever it is that we need to do. So seeing no further comments, checking the screen here, I'm going to ask Connor to call roll. And after that, I want to just point out to the time we have 30 minutes left in our meeting. So just keep that in mind as we keep going. Connor.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Jesse Beeson.
Aye.
Commissioner Nafisa Fai.
Aye.
Commissioner Paul Savas.
No.
Commissioner Mingus Maps.
Aye.
Mayor Travis Stovall.
Aye.
Mayor Jeff DeLynn.
Aye.
Mayor Joe Buck.
No.
Ryan Winsheimer.
Aye.
Sam Dessou.
Aye.
Curtis Robinhold.
Aye.
Ali Mirza Khalili. Councillor Ashton Simpson.
Aye.
Councillor Christine Lewis.
No.
Mayor Ann McInerney Ogle.
Aye.
Carly Francis.
Aye.
Sean Donahue. It passes.
All right, thank you, Connor. The vote passes. Again, want to appreciate everyone for the conversation and dialogue. I think it's gonna, I think a very clear message is being sent, and you will see a response from us at our at our next meeting. Apologies. Discussion topic number 3, regional transportation. Oh, sorry, Carrie. Yes.
I think that this effectively,
Oh.
my microphone is on.
Okay.
So you made an amendment, we have the main motion on the table.
Correct.
Because this is a replacement amendment, I don't think we need to take.
Carrie, I don't think your mic is on.
What is it? Okay.
Okay, it is now, yeah.
Let's try that again.
I apologize for that, yeah.
No, I was just a procedural process and wanted to make sure that the committee sort of knew where we were here. Because this motion replaced effectively the main motion, I don't think we need to take a subsequent action on that vote. However, if there were other amendments to this discussion topic, now would be the time to make those amendments. Not trying to call for them, but just wanting to leave that space.
Okay, thank you for the procedural clarification there. I think that makes sense to me. I think I'm comfortable with that, and seeing folks in general acknowledge the advice here from our council is helpful. Thank you so much, Carrie, for explaining that. On to discussion topic number 3 then. Discussion topic 3 is considering.
Sorry, Chair.
3 then. Discussion topic 3 is considering.
Sorry, Chair, I just want to make, so we are approving, you're saying that policy topic 2, the remaining things that TPAC recommended with my motion all that is approved by this body as well? I just
Yes,
wanna
Mr.
confirm.
Yes.
Thank you.
As your motion was made, it was to make one modification to the recommendation as a whole.
Thank you. Okay. All right, we're all good. I think we're all good. Okay, great. All right, discussion topic 3 is considering approval of the TPAC recommendation for the regional transportation funding topic. Do I have a motion and a second to approve TPAC's recommendation for regional transportation funding? And you can see that action on your screen. Any discussion? Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Simpson.
Second.
And seconded by Mayor Buck? Okay, excellent. If there's no more discussion on this, Connor, can you please call roll?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Commissioner Jesse Beeson.
Aye.
Commissioner Nafisa Fai.
Aye.
Commissioner Paul Savas.
Aye.
Commissioner Mingus Maps.
Aye.
Mayor Travis Stovall.
Aye.
Mayor Jeff Delin.
Aye.
Mayor Joe Buck.
Aye.
Ryan Winsheimer.
Aye.
Sam Dessou.
Aye.
Curtis Robinhold.
Aye.
Ali Mirza Khalili. Councilor Ashton Simpson.
Aye.
Councilor Christine Lewis.
Aye.
Carly Francis.
Aye.
Mayor Ann McInerney Ogle.
Aye.
And Sean Donahue.
All right, thank you. The action passes unanimously. We'll move on to discussion topic number 4, climate tools and analysis. Discussion topic number 4 considers the approval of the TPAC recommendation for the climate tools and analysis topic, which you can see summarized on the PowerPoint right now. Do I have a motion and a second to approve TPAC's recommendation for climate tools and analysis?
So moved.
Second.
All right, moved by Curtis Robinhold, seconded by Metro Councilor Christine Lewis. Any discussion?
Chair, just one comment. Reading through the material that I did read through of the RTP as it relates to the tools and the measurements, I just want to give my opinion that I think a lot more work needs to be done on the tools. I felt, especially in Chapter 8, that not much programs that are accessible by us for measurements, and just a few pages, 5, I believe, pages in Chapter 8 on the tools, and quite vague, I thought. But from someone who's more analytical, who did a lot of research in that area, I think we need to make sure that, number one, they're more robust and they're available to the public for view and consideration. That's just a comment. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner. I would like for Metro staff to be able to respond to that. This is an important topic in our RTP. So Catherine or Kim?
Yes, thank you, Chair Gonzalez. So Chapter 8 describes the performance. It doesn't provide a lot of detail on the tools. There's a whole Appendix J that does describe the tool, along with another appendix that describes all of the analysis tools that Metro uses, not just for the climate analysis, but also for the equity analysis, our regional travel demand model. So I'd be happy to work with your staff to make sure that you are aware of that. I also would like to remind JPAC members that we did convene a climate expert panel, of which you were a part of in the beginning of the RTP process in June of 2022. We had experts from Colorado, California, as well as other parts of the U.S. Talking about the tools and recognizing that there is no perfect tool, and we're doing the best that we can. We're doing some of the best analysis, following state guidance, but also working to continue to improve that. So we are very committed. Our council is very committed to this as well, and so we will continue to work with you on that, and it is public. There's nothing to be hidden in any of that.
Just a quick response, clarification, that is, I think maybe I should use the words dashboard. That data should be available for the public to view, as well as ourselves who are decision makers, and I think that's what's lacking. We actually can't really measure the outcomes of the programs and policies and projects we put in place today.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Savas. And that is part of the recommendations that are before you. And some of it was in response to specific feedback that Joe Courtwright provided us on tracking GHG emissions for the region. So we will be working to create an inventory and reporting that, along with forecasting into the future.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion on the table by Curtis Robinhold and a second by Councilor Lewis. Oh, sorry, Mayor Delane. Thank you for waving at me. And Councilor Lewis. Oh, my goodness.
It's okay. We're all in this together, Juan Carlos. We'll get through it, man. It's all right. I think I'd be remiss not to mention that, from our Washington County staff, we've talked about, and I don't know if we have it in the plan in detail, but even measurement stations, right? We have some of that for the particle monitoring that we have now and that we've done with state and federal. They were talking about the ability to put them out next to the highway so we could get real-time analysis, get some good cumulative data where it would be sampling on a regular basis, and we could really see what kind of air emissions are being collected next to our roadways. As a West Side person, our sensitivity obviously is biggest one is 26, but we've looked at that. So I'd like to understand how looking at those kind of locally implemented stations that test what's going on in the air on a regular basis and gives us some good trend data that we could look at to what Commissioner Savas is talking about, where we can actually look at the data and say, hey, are we really changing year over year, season over season? Has this policy change that we implemented made a positive change or a negative? Much to what the testimony before the meeting was about, are we actually making positive change, or are we just doing enough modeling off on the, as we say in my layout world, it looked great in CAD, but it doesn't really work in the real world. And I think that's what we need to do, is get some real world data. So I'd like to understand how this is going to change that.
Okay, thanks. Councilor Lewis, and then Ali.
Sure, thank you. I think that the third bullet point on the screen and the underlying policies are pretty polite for the place that we're at. Our urban region has ability to bend the curve on climate emissions in a way that the rest of the state doesn't. We are growing very intentionally around making sure that we're reducing climate impacts and how we grow. And I would hope that in the future, we're able to work with state partners here at the table and otherwise, so that the state can specifically give us the tools we need in an urban region and not just bring us down to the lowest common denominator of what works for the rest of the state.
Thanks, Councilor. Ali?
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to respond to a request for near road monitoring. The DQ does operate a near road monitor. Actually, that data is available. I'd be happy to share that with JPACT and the members. If it's interested. We can always do additional monitoring, but we do have
Thanks, yeah. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that there's some really amazing things happening with artificial intelligence too, and analysis of data that I'm sure will be helpful for us, and would love for it to be a topic that we're able to dive into and see how we can continue to improve our process. So again, we have a motion and a second on the table. Seeing no further discussion, I'm going to invite Connor to call roll.
Thank you. Also, just note for the record that Commissioner Jesse Beeson had to leave. So the roll, Commissioner Nafisa Faye.
Aye.
Commissioner Paul Savas.
Aye.
Commissioner Mingus Mapps.
Aye.
Mayor Travis Stovall.
Aye.
Mayor Jeff DeLynn.
Aye.
Mayor Joe Buck.
Aye.
Ryan Winsheimer.
Aye.
Sam Dessou.
Aye.
Curtis Robinhold.
Aye.
Ali Mirza Khalili. Councilor Ashton Simpson.
Aye.
Councilor Christine Lewis.
Aye.
Carly Francis.
Aye.
Mayor Ann McInerney Ogle.
Aye.
And Sean Donahue.
All right, thank you. The motion passes, and we're able to move on to action number 6. Anything procedural, Carrie? We're good? Okay, great. Action number 6, which is also discussion topic 5, a lot of numbers here. Discussion topic 5 is considering approval on the TPAC recommendation for the mobility policy implementation. You can see the summary on the screen. Do I have a motion and a second to approve TPAC's recommendation?
So moved. Second.
I'm sorry, I did not quite catch that. Who's the first motion?
Lewis.
Oh, Lewis?
And then
Second by
Stovall, second.
Stovall? All right, excellent. Any discussion on this matter? Okay, Connor, can you please call roll?
Yes, thank you. Commissioner Nafisa Faye.
Aye.
Commissioner Paul Savas.
Aye.
Commissioner Mingus Mapps.
Aye.
Mayor Travis Stovall.
Aye.
Mayor Jeff DeLynn.
Aye.
Mayor Joe Buck.
Aye.
Ryan Winsheimer.
Aye.
Sam Dessou. Curtis Robinhold.
Aye.
Ali Mirza Khalili. Councilor Ashton Simpson.
Aye.
Councilor Christine Lewis.
Aye.
Carly Francis.
Aye.
Mayor Ann McInerney Ogle.
Aye.
And Sean Donahue.
All right, excellent. The motion passes and we're able to move on. So I do have our final action, which approves which is to make a recommendation to the Metro Council to approve the RTP, but I understand there is one amendment. Commissioner Savas, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and I want to just thank Catherine and her staff for helping frame up and legal to help frame up the motion so it's clear. Basically, for those of you who participated in the early workshops with Metro and JPACT members, had advocated there and in prior opportunities advocated for some kind of language that basically encourages or works towards striving to have a regionally balanced transportation system. We have a lot of transit deserts, for example, in Clackamas County. We certainly need more investment out there. There's an amendment going around. Basically, the motion would read, I'm not making the motion, but the motion would read to amend objective 1.2, system completion, and add language that says prioritizing investments in areas that have historically received fewer state and federal transportation funds to ensure a regionally balanced system. So that's my friendly amendment, and I'm happy to make the motion, but I thought there was any other discussions before I make the motion, or I'll just make the motion to put on the floor, that way it's more legitimate. So I move to amend objective 1.2, system completion, and chapter 2, goal 1, and also in exhibit B, regional framework plan amendments, to add the following clause at the end of the sentence. Prioritizing investments in areas that have historically received fewer state and federal transportation funds to ensure a regionally balanced system.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion proposed by Commissioner Savas and a second by Mayor Joe Buck. Do we have any discussion on this? I know amendments that are that come up a little late are hard to, can be hard to interpret, but Kim or Catherine, is there any particular guidance on this matter?
I also see that Commissioner Fye has her hand up.
Okay, thank you. So I see Ali, Commissioner Fye, and then Sam Dessou have raised their hand/cards. So let's go to comment first, and then we can come to staff.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question here, clarification. So if an area that doesn't have a lot of population and has received, relatively fewer investments, should we invest in that? If there's no, how do we reconcile this? I don't understand. I'm not sure how to interpret this. Usually the regional networks, we go to where the population is, and if there's an investment in a low populated area, how do we balance that? Is there, you can't just distribute it evenly across. That's not what the intent, I assume.
Yeah, well, thank you. I guess I would just say, I believe it should be more, it's not about being geographic so much as it is being about areas that are underserved. So underserved areas obviously are areas that are in my mind, that maybe it's not obvious, but in my mind, the areas that are populated that are underserved. So I would agree, we should be making investments where no one lives.
So Commissioner Fye, and then we'll go to Sam, and then Councilor Lewis.
Chair Gonzalez, thank you so much. I think I was in the same wavelength you were. I think you asked the question to the staff. I was gonna turn it over to the staff and sort of walk us through the implications of what this amendment is. Naturally, I'm able to pivot, but I'm having a bit of a hard time about areas who are more wealthier than other areas. What does this mean? Like, I don't think we put in a lot of analysis or thinking from me and from our staff. So staff, tell us what this implication or this amendment means to the whole entire RTP. And then how do we reconcile areas that have more money than others with this amendment?
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Fye. So I'm gonna ask Kim and or Catherine, however you would like to chime in.
Would you like to let other folks talk first? Or?
I think it might be good. I think the commissioner made a request around a basic explanation. I think it'll inform how conversation can go forward.
Yeah, so Commissioner Fye, so this amendment is changing an objective that's within Chapter 2 of the RTP under the goal for mobility options. And essentially the objective as was written in the public review draft was acknowledging the importance of completing gaps in all parts of the transportation system. Prioritization of completion of those gaps are other decisions, but the overarching policy direction is to work towards completing them in all parts of the region, and that includes underserved areas. There are not other objectives that are written in this same manner that are specifically calling out areas that have historically received fewer state and federal transportation funds. In fact, the policies in the RTP are saying we should be prioritizing completing those gaps in areas where there's high injury corridors, where there's more deaths and serious injuries happening on the transportation system. It should be in equity focus areas, which are areas that have higher concentrations of people of color, people of low income, people with disabilities, and other pieces of the system. But I really want to highlight that the RTP is very specific about prioritizing investments in those areas to serve those the transportation needs in those areas as part of completing that system. It's not about particularly targeting where there may be less state and federal investment.
All right, thank you. Sam?
I think the question has been answered. I was following up on the impacts of the amendment, so I think I've got my answer.
Okay, excellent. Mayor Stovall.
So very quick, I'm just wondering the level of, we use the word prioritizing here. I'm just trying to understand how that gives direction. Is it something that really locks us into a specific type of approach as we begin to deliver these types of funding decisions? And I got to say that from a philosophical perspective, I'm highly supportive of this because I believe the East Side and the Outer East Side has had and experienced these underinvestments for quite some time. I'm just not sure, though, about this language. And similar to what was just shared, all of the criteria that could and should be required to look at what this means. I mean, what is it that actually how do we measure the underinvestment that areas have received? I mean, is it going to be from an equity standpoint? Is it going to be from a death standpoint? I think understanding the prioritizing word and how that essentially either directs us as bodies or in our recommendations, or is it something that says, hey, your prioritization, you should consider these things as you're moving forward, but this language doesn't really require us to do certain things. Again, saying that with while believing in the philosophical concept of what's being presented.
Thanks, Mayor. When I see prioritizing, all of a sudden I'm like, well, what's the framework with which we're prioritizing, right? So I think that I appreciate you sharing that. Commissioner Mapps, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I want to say I really appreciate the spirit and the instincts behind the amendment that has been put forward by Commissioner Savas. But like I think everyone else who's spoken on this particular item, I think I need to know more about how this particular proposal would impact our priorities, especially our priorities that impact our investments in equity and whatnot. So this looks like a great idea. I'd like to discuss it more, but I don't think I am prepared to vote aye this morning.
Oh, Councilor Lewis.
Sure, thank you. First, I just wanted to help folks following along at home. This is on page 2-9, if that helps put this in context, because there's a lot of 1.2s in the 600 and something pages. But I wanted to just say out loud that the idea of regional funds needing to be a Band-Aid or stem the tide of what gets left out of state and federal transportation is the box that we're in every day here at JPAC. And the opportunity to be able to think beyond the funding formulas and the jurisdictional boundaries in which state and federal dollars come down, but to really think about how people live and work in this region, which is not squarely in one or another jurisdiction, and it's about mobility across those borders. So that's why I think the definition or the objective as written works for us, because it is inherent in our work, that we are spending the dollar at the local level in the best way possible and not according to some sort of formula that is jurisdictionally bound. That said, I do want to stick up for the 20% of the region that's in Clackamas County that is often not able to take advantage of large county programs that the other 2 counties do.
Okay, thanks. All right, I see Ryan and Commissioner Savas, and please keep your comments short. We're at 9:25. It's inevitable that this meeting is going to go over our 9:30, but I would like to be able to begin our vote on the full RTP approval before 9:30, so please. If you
And I know several of us need to get up to Washington State for another important meeting following this as well. But so thank you for this, and I appreciate what I think the objective of this is, which is ensuring the regionally balanced system. And the OTP policy that's relevant to that says, identify communities underserved by walking, rolling, biking, transit, and other travel options, and prioritize investments to reduce disparities. And I think that's kind of what we're really trying to do. I'm not sure just saying historically received fewer federal and state transportation dollars is the appropriate measure. And so I feel where you're going. I understand what you're trying to get to, but I don't think this is the right the motion. So I'm gonna vote no.
Thanks, Ryan. Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, so it's meant to be high level like a lot of these sections are in this whole document, and it's another example of a conflict, if you will. So if, under the heading, system completion, complete all gaps planned in regional networks, if we're saying that other aspects of the RTP and policies don't support that, whether it's equity or whatnot, whatever the rationale may be, then the whole chapter ought to be removed. Because it's not a true statement. It's meant to be high level, I get that. However, whether it's an area, you gotta remember, people aren't static. Whether you're wealthy or you're poor, you're not sitting in one place and you're not walking within 100 feet. People are going back and forth to work through these gaps and don't have the access to it, whether it's transit or whatnot. My former employees that couldn't get to work very well, or Mayor Buck's employees for his business and others, those are the working people, whether they're below the 60% AMI or below 80%, whatever they may be, they still need to use the system to get back and forth to work. This is not static. We're not just factor in the commute shed. It's not about territory, it's about the gaps.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. So we do have a motion second on this amendment. I would like to call the question and call roll.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Fye?
No.
Commissioner Paul Savas?
Aye.
Commissioner Mingus Maps?
No.
Mayor Travis Stovall?
No.
Mayor Jeff DeLynn?
Aye.
Mayor Joe Buck?
Aye.
Ryan Winsheimer?
No.
Sam Dessou?
No.
Curtis Robinhold?
Nope.
Ali Mirza Khalili?
No.
Councilor Ashton Simpson?
No.
Councilor Christine Lewis?
No.
Carly Francis?
No.
Mayor Ann McInerney Ogle?
No.
Sean Donahue? That was a no, correct? Thank you. It does not pass, Chair.
All right, thanks, Connor. So we can move on now to our final action. Our final action is an overall approval and submittal to the Metro Council of the entire 2023 RTP with a recommendation for adoption, including the consent items we approved, discussion items we previously approved, in ordinance number 23-1469 and exhibits A through C. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Councilor Simpson moves.
Second.
Seconded by Sam Dessou. Any discussion? Nice. All right. Can we,
Thank you, Chair.
can we call roll?
Yes. Commissioner Nafisa Fye?
Aye.
Commissioner Paul Savas?
No.
Commissioner Mingus Maps?
Aye.
Mayor Travis Stovall?
Aye.
Mayor Jeff DeLynn?
Aye.
Mayor Joe Buck?
Aye.
Ryan Winsheimer,
Aye.
Sam Dessou,
Aye.
Curtis Robinhold,
Aye.
Ali Mirza-Khalili,
Aye.
Counselor Ashton Simpson,
Aye.
Counselor Christine Lewis,
Aye.
Carly Francis,
Aye.
Mayor Ann McInerney Ogle,
Aye.
and Sean Donahue. Passes.
All right, that feels great. Yes, all right, thank you, everyone. This will come on to council.
Do you feel like you breathed something?
And we have one final item before we adjourn. It's the resolution number 23-5348 for the purpose of adopting the 2023 high-capacity transit strategy, which is a key policy focus area of the 2023 RTP. We've reviewed it and discussed it. Ally is here to present. I know that she is shortening that presentation for us so that we're able to end shortly. MTAC, MPAC, and TPAC have voted to recommend approval of the resolution before us today. Staff proposes JPACT recommend approval of the resolution by Metro Council is recommended by TPAC as well. So, yeah, Ellie.
Thank you very much. And first, I just want to say thank you for all of your work and your staff's work over the past 2 years to bring us to today. Rather than going through my presentation, I'll just mention a couple procedural things and the next steps. Your packet included the items before you for consideration as part of the action item for today. Those were previewed as part of your meeting last month and approved by TPAC or recommended for your approval by TPAC earlier this month. And in addition to TPAC's recommendation, MPAC also recommended approval by Metro Council at their October 25th meeting. And following today's action, with your recommendation, Metro Council would consider both MPAC and JPAC's recommendations along with a public hearing and testimony before taking action on November 30th.
Okay, great. So we have the final, let me just read this through real quick and then I'll call for a motion. So our final action is to recommend to the Metro Council approval of the high capacity transit strategy, including resolution number 23-5348 and exhibits, which includes the public review draft highway capacity strategy in Exhibit A and the recommended changes to the public review draft high capacity transit strategy in Exhibit B. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved. Second.
All right, moved by Sean Donahue and seconded by Mayor Stovall, correct? All right, excellent. Do we have any discussion on this last item?
I'll be brief, Chair. I'll be voting no on this for the very reason of the last discussion that we recently had. So essentially, within the metro boundaries, also TriMet Service District, we have severe shortage of transit services, options, whatnot. And we basically call them transit deserts. So to give more capacity or more speed in other areas where, in recognizing we have these gaps, we have these deserts, it just seems wrong, frankly, to not address that with the earlier motion or any effort towards that. So I'll be voting no.
Okay, Commissioner. Mayor Deline.
I'll be voting yes, but I won't hold my nose this time, but I would be remiss not to extend the message from the Washington County Coordinating Committee that we need to do more work around 99W. There was lots of statements and things entered into record about how because so much of the traffic comes from exterior to this region's metro boundary, that traffic wasn't counted in the loadings. I think we have a real missed opportunity that we're not moving 99W out of slot 4. So we'll be continuing to advocate and work on how we get 99W out of slot 4 up to slot 1 or 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, I don't see any more hands raised. Connor, can you call roll?
Yes, thank you. Commissioner Nafisa Fai.
Aye.
Commissioner Paul-Savas.
No.
Commissioner Mingus Maps.
Aye.
Mayor Travis Stovall.
Aye.
Mayor Jeff Delin.
Aye.
Mayor Joe Buck.
Aye.
Ryan Winsheimer.
Aye.
Sam Dessou.
Aye.
Curtis Robinhold.
Aye.
Ali Mirza-Khalili.
Aye.
Counselor Ashton Simpson.
Aye.
Counselor Christine Lewis.
Aye.
Carly Francis.
Aye.
Mayor Ann McInerney Ogle.
Aye.
And Sean Donahue.
All right, excellent. The action passes. We can move on to JPAC member updates if there are any. Seeing none. Ryan?
Watch out for I-205.
All right, watch out for I-205. Thank you, everyone, for staying a few minutes late. Very proud of what we were able to achieve today. Thank you for the incredible conversation. We'll see you on December 14th. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
That's just